We got a great guest here today. First and foremost, this is again Pierre Laguerre, founder and CEO of Fleeting. Welcome to Trucking Weekly. I know we moved it from Sundays to doing it every Thursday at 7 p.m. We want to come here and bring you, important information that you need. If you're making a decision to truck in, if you run a truck, if you run multiple trucks, how do you manage your fleet and how you get the best driver retention for your bucks and how do you run a real efficient operation. So thank you everyone for joining. Special guest here today, we have Jeff from Bettaway. Before I bring Jeff in, guys, Jeff, been in transportation logistics for over 2 decades as well. He's a transportation manager. He's a fleet manager at Bettaway. I'll let him speak for himself. Like you understand, he's gonna really come in here and giving us some good tips, some good knowledge on things that we need to do to make sure that we run a successful operation. Because I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that want to own their own trucks, that eventually want to manage their own fleet. So I want to kind of really bring the real news to you guys to find the best details from the credible sources in the trucking industry that's doing it. So let's bring Jeff to the scene. Just give him a little bit of time to join. Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what up, what up?
What's going on? What's going on, brother? How you feeling today?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I mean, can we see everyone is good here? Everybody's good? How's your day going, Jeff? How's the family going?
Everybody's good, man. Working. Glad to have a job.
Absolutely.
Trying to provide a much needed service during these times,
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, thank you for being here, man. I know you could have been with the family, could have been with the wife. It's a very hard day. We're on Thursday. I know Friday's coming up, but we will appreciate you making the time to come here, spend some knowledge out here, for these truckers, the entrepreneurs that want to learn about trucking. And, just kind of go through about your own experience being a fleet manager. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor. Kind of go ahead, introduce yourself to the audience. Go ahead, if you don't mind.
All right. My name is Jeff Acabou. I'm a fleet planning manager for Bettaway Trucking. Been doing it for quite a while now, as Pierre says, going on 2 decades. When I first got this job, didn't know what trucking was all about. Seen him on the road, thought the same thing everybody else thinks. I was just another trucker. And it took not too long before I gained the respect and understood how chaotic and interesting it is. We're the backbone of America. If we're not on the road, you can't go to your grocery store, and we see that today. So other than that, just trying to be efficient, provide a service, and be accommodating. Drivers right now, everybody's going through the same thing. Some more than others. Some people lost loved ones. And outside of that, everybody's going through struggles right now. And I can't be lucky enough to be working in this industry today. I have a job and I'm going to work every day and I'm working hard. And I'm doing it with my team, and that includes all the drivers under us. We're all in the same boat together. So.
Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing, man. That's interesting that you shared that. You said, first you got into trucking, right? You didn't really know much about trucking, but once you got into it, what is it that kept you in there? Was it the fast-paced industry, or was it because you see there was a lot of loopholes or a lot of inefficiencies, and you felt like, hey, if I be part of this industry, maybe I could bring some great solution? What is it that got you stuck into the industry, even though you didn't know anything about it?
I'll tell you what. I tell everybody that comes new into the company who's never worked in trucking before, that once you're in there, you don't leave. And I will first and foremost say that it is not an easy job. It is very demanding for everyone, mentally and physically. And you hit the point that it's fast paced, but it's like I consider like a high speed chess game. You're one piece on your operation can affect so many other pieces, and you're trying to service the customers, you're trying to get products to the store, you're trying to make sure drivers get home and come see their families, right? Yep. They're out on the road 12, 14 hours. I would never be a truck driver myself, right? I have the utmost respect for them, and I have many drivers come up to me and they tell me the same thing. I would never want to work in that office, right? But it's something about our jobs that it's satisfying. I mean, it's like you're not delivering a cure for cancer. It's sugar water, but it feels like you got to get it there, right? And it's important. You're doing an important, important task.
Right.
But I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. There is a lot of inefficiencies, and a lot of them are not within your control. There's so many various moving parts that you have to deal with on a daily basis. But it's very fast paced, and it becomes kind of like a family. I think of trucking as a family, right? You know, when you're driving down the road, Pierre, and you see another trucker, you guys feel like you're siblings, right?
Absolutely.
You know, it's that kind of mentality, and you need one another, right? You need one another. You need one another to make sure that, you know, I want to make sure that the drivers know that I care about them.
Absolutely.
And you build that loyalty and respect, and you get things done better that way, you know?
Absolutely. Agree.
I think go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. To go to the next question, right? What I wanted to ask is, we didn't say to the audience, currently right now, how many fleet you have under management that you manage in Bettaway on the Northeast region right now?
I'm sorry, I'm hearing you.
How many trucks are you under your management right now as a fleet manager for Bettaway in the Northeast region?
We run about 100 to 100 trucks depending on capacity needs. Okay. So that's about it right there.
Okay, great.
About 100.
Sorry, you said what?
About 100.
Okay, about 100. You said something that was very important earlier today in the conversation when you explaining that, you know, one thing goes wrong and that creates a domino effect. Can you kind of share with the audience, like, what does that situation look like? It could be what? A driver pull out, a shipper probably held that driver, he couldn't miss that load. Can you kind of give the audience an example of one thing that can go wrong and that creates a domino effect for your entire operation?
Yeah, well, in our industry, you know, you have a couple of key points you have to hit. First is safety, right? Second is service. And we're all in to make money, right? Yes. That's we wouldn't be doing this out of the goodness of our hearts, right? It's too expensive to run a truck. It's, you know, so anything can happen, meaning, like as you stated, a shipper delays your truck. A driver calls out. A driver has a breakdown. There's a canceled load. There's so many various things that are without your control, right? Or the driver's control that has a domino effect. And what I mean by that is in our industry, we work on a very small margin, right? We don't have this huge spread, right? You're lucky if you make 5% on a load because your expenses are insane, right? So a lot of, you know, when I first started, you know, doing this and I realized how much owner-operators make, I'm like, wow, you know, 6 figures in a year. Yeah, but, you know, it's 6 figures in a year, but I also spend, you know, 90,000 in fuel.
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh, okay. Now, you know, you got to look at both ways. So a good example would be if we set up the way we have to set up to be profitable, to keep the wheels moving, right? You got to be loaded all the time. And you have a guy who starts at a certain amount of time in the morning, and you give him just enough time based on your experience and based on what the law allows you to do, get from point A to point B. Time, right? The guy could get delayed, a breakdown, or a delay. That's a domino effect. Now your second or third pickup, right, is now in jeopardy, and you have to find somebody else to go cover that, or you're going to be late, right? So now everything has an effect. It's a domino effect. Now the shipper might give that load away. You know, you might be fined for being late or a reschedule. You know, the driver could be in jeopardy of running out of hours, right? Being stranded on the side of the road. And if you're a over the road driver, you know, you can miss that load. That load right there that's your bread and butter. You're not gonna be able to eat tomorrow. Absolutely. Right? You can't pay for your gas tomorrow. So those are the kind of things that can happen, and it's just a domino effect, man. And it's, you know, if it rolls over to the next day, it has an effect on tomorrow as well, because that's revenue that was accounted for today for the driver, for you, the service that was accounted by you, right? They bought your service to get it there, and nobody wants to hear excuses, right? There's no excuses. So,
man, you just shared a lot, man. Really, I hope you guys are really paying attention. Once again, this is Jeff. Over 200, 100 and 200 trucks sometime under management, depending on the capacity. So this man knows exactly what he's talking about. He's giving us the real deals of exactly the things to look out for. But Jeff, and while we're still on that question, usually when something like that happens and kind of throw a monkey wrench in your operation, what is usually the next, like, what is your next step? Like, what do you think of? Like, what is the service provider, like, you could think of that could kind of help, you know, when you have this type of issues, when, you know, driver call out, any issues happen, or you have a spike in capacity? How do you kind of deal with that in operation and planning?
Well, there's different various. From a plan perspective, I'm always working ahead of time, right? So I'm working based on tomorrow and the future. From a dispatcher's perspective, you really don't have. So there's two ways, right? So you have the day before, which is my ballpark. You just find the next best efficient way to get that load covered. You really don't have much choices when you're doing. I can send anybody anywhere anytime I want, right? But my goal is to make sure that the wheels, when they're moving, they're not moving empty, right? They're moving loaded. Right? You can't be a taxi driver and just drive around with nobody in the taxi. You'll never make money, right? So you could do anything you want, but your goal is to try to, be loaded. Less deadhead miles means less fuel. There's less expenses, better for the world, right? And then you work your way down from a dispatcher's perspective, like right at the time of occurrence, right? You really only have a handful of options, right? So your last result is just rescheduling the load. That's your last result. You have no other choice but to just say, I can't do it. There's no way I'm going to be able to do it. Let's reschedule it. We don't want to get there. We want to get to a guy calls out, who's the next guy, right? Who's the next guy without affecting any other customers, right? Especially during a time like this, was this driver that called out delivering food or beverage versus some more of non-essential product, right? So right now, our job is to make sure, especially during this pandemic, is to make sure that food and beverage gets priority. Normally, every load is priority. Yeah. So you go through that option, then you figure out the next best option. Is there a driver who's not so close to us, who's not going to be as efficient, but we still provide the service to the customer, which they need it from us, right? Because they could go find another trucker tomorrow, right? Yep. So you go through those steps and you try to. Sometimes they're all worst case scenarios, but what's the least worst that you can come up to, right? And other times I call fleeting. The guy calls out, right? Absolutely. So you try to find your best case scenario, and most of the time it's what's the least worst case scenario, right? So
absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, man. Once again, let's stress what Jeff is saying. Pretty much, sometimes when that happens, they really put them in a bind. It creates a domino effect. They have to really find a way to maximize the truck to make sure that they minimize the deadhead on the truck. And, and once again, if they have a last option and they definitely need to ramp up on 2-3 drivers, they can always count on us fleeting to kind of help them and get these drivers. But you said something about that COVID that leads to the next question, man. How is it running your business in the midst of COVID-19? What effect did you see from operation on as far as freight and the driver on end? What did you see? How was the operation throughout the entire crisis?
Well, take the deadliness of the crisis away, and I could kind of compare it to when we have a blizzard or a heavy snow day, right? That's the best way I could compare it to. You have drivers who call out. You have facilities that are closed. Sometimes you don't find out until you get there. You have your repair mechanics not in. You have nowadays you don't have the traffic, right? But you have delays where the facilities everything's closed. You can't get in contact with people. That's what I can compare it to from an operational standpoint, right? Trucking is always chaos. Always chaos. It's like being on a highway, 65 miles an hour with traffic and people going crazy. That's what it is. Absolutely. So you have the chaos, and you still have that to a lesser degree of volume. But you still have those variables. We're lucky enough to be in this business in food and beverage, our company. I cannot say how lucky I am. I am truly blessed. So we definitely seen a drop in volume. You have drivers who have, some drivers have to be in quarantine just for protective measures. Because you know how it is now. You could call your doctor and it just tells you to go in quarantine. It's not even a test you could take, right? So you have to deal with all those variables, and then you do the best you can.
That's right. That's right. Nah, you're absolutely right, Jeff. I agree with you. As you know, me, myself, being over 2 decades in this space as well, running 17 trucks, so I could definitely relate to what you're saying here. Hey, guys, I hope you really, truly understand what Jeff is saying. But we're going to keep going to some great questions. I think this is great. But you touched on a point again, right? Through COVID-19, you was blessed of your company because you guys focused on food and beverages. Can you kind of speak to exactly what type of volume did you see 2 months ago, and how easy or how hard it was for you to get drivers? And also, what did you see now in the case that we are now? Is it easier to get drivers, or it is harder to get drivers? Or is you guys really being affected in a very in a severity way where your bottom line is being affected as well as far as the volume? Like, what was the difference that you've seen for the past 2 months as far as when it comes to the drivers and when it comes to freight and how that affected the entire operation?
Well, there's two parts to that, right? So you have the driver and the loss and gain of drivers, right?
Yeah.
I would say from a driver availability perspective, there are always, let me rephrase that, not always. There are drivers available out there. They're always applying, right?
Yeah.
And we know this because our industry is 100% turnover ratio, if not more, right?
Yes.
So even if all the seats are filled, you're still going to have drivers applying because they're always looking for the greener side, or they have a bad relationship, or they've had a bad experience.
That's
right?
one thing we say, right, all the time. Sorry to cut you off. That's why we always say, sorry, drivers. This is not no disrespect to y'all, but I always say that truck drivers is full-time drivers and part-time applicants, right? What does that mean? Although they have a full-time job, they're always looking for the next best opportunity, a company that can treat them better, whether it's the start time, whether it's management, whether it's dispatch. There's always something else, like, you know, that drivers is really chasing to go out there. I mean, since you're on that question, right, talking about drivers and retention, what is it that Bettaway, I mean, Bettaway been around for over 50 years. I know you guys started in 1960, I mean, way before I was born. So obviously they've been doing something great in the industry to keep their driver retention. What is something that you see that Bettaway does well to keep their driver culture? Because a lot of drivers that I speak at Bettaway, they always have this great attitude that, you know, this is much more like a family-oriented place, that they love working there. Like, what is it that Bettaway was able to achieve to create that type of culture around their drivers?
Well, just like you said, I think it's the relationship. I think it's a relationship and understanding. Family. This company to me has always been a big family. You know how siblings, they have disputes, sometimes very heated disputes. And in our industry, you know how it goes, right? But at the end of the day, after that dispute is resolved, we're a family. We're in it together. And that bond is stronger. I think, you know, the drivers that do come to us that have reported back to you, I think it's because they gave that to us as well, right? So the key is to have that mutual respect for one another, right? And to understand the struggles that both sides are going through and how much you both need each other, right? Not to say that neither of us are going to make mistakes, but if we do, the other one should sit back and listen. The person who's made a mistake should just listen, right? And we should listen too. We should listen to their thought process. Absolutely. Because rules and regulations change all the time, right? So, and you don't know if a guy's been having a bad day, right? So a driver could be having a bad day today. He might not want to say anything, you know, but if you notice it, tomorrow, give him an easier day, right? Absolutely. If a guy's had a problem at a certain location, where, you know how it is, like I said, in warehousing and trucking, it's sometimes it's not a healthy atmosphere, right? Because people are under so much pressure and it's so intense and chaos. Sometimes they take it out on the wrong person and they don't mean to, right? Absolutely. So, but as long as you understand that, you could always come back after, take a walk together and say, hey, listen, I'm sorry. You know, I didn't mean it like that. You know, I was just having a bad day. It's okay. I think Bettaway has been a big family. I think that, you know, another piece to it too is our owner is someone different. He's a different breed. What I say by that is, a lot of owners, you know, have their head up high and they don't talk to anybody and they don't get their hands dirty and they're too good for everybody. Our owner's not like that. He's very down to earth, very hands-on, very understanding. He came from where we are, right? He understands working, right? But he also understands he wants to have the best equipment for the drivers, right? Absolutely. He wants to have the best facilities for the drivers, right? And I think the drivers see that. And I think that they don't have to come in and drive an old, dirty truck. Absolutely. Right? So they come in,
sorry to hear. So from what I hear from you saying, man, as far as Bettaway, the way they were able to build a culture, from what I understand is they were able to show understanding to the driver. They show patience with the driver. It was a lot of transparency there. It was much more like the family oriented environment that you guys created. So if you guys are paying attention, these are the things that you can include into your corporation, into your company or operation to make sure that you have better driver success. But just to get on another question, Jeff, I think this is great right here. Too often, and I say that all the time myself, and I'm glad that you said that the owner of Bettaway kind of like, you know, came from where we from, and I think he has a better understanding. He kind of much more relates to on the human level aspect, much more than just on the capital side, which is great. And I think a lot of companies that are run by people like that usually have better success stories and better results. So I think this is why we're very passionate about what we do and really trying to understand drivers. But what we see in the industry sometimes, there's a miscommunication, right? Is that sometimes trucking companies don't understand what a truck driver has to deal with on a day-to-day basis and on the road. And at the same time, truck drivers don't understand operation, the dispatcher, fleet manager. They don't understand the kind of headache that you guys deal with within your own operation. If there's one thing that drivers should learn about motor carriers, what would that be to you that you would share with truck drivers?
It's being on the road is chaos. Being in the office is chaos. We're under the same amount of pressure, and everything trickles down from your customer, right? So your customer needs that load there now. I'm not driving a truck, so I gotta say, Pierre, you gotta get that load there now,
Absolutely.
right? But it's satisfying. It is satisfying for a driver who has pride in his work, and for a dispatcher or an office worker, no matter what position you're in the office, it could be the lowest on the totem pole or the highest. Your job is just as important as the other one, and it's chaos, but it's satisfying, and it's logistical. It's almost like a logistical nightmare. You know, everybody's calling you. Everybody wants everything now, and nobody can take no for an answer, right? And the easy part to forget is that while everybody's calling and I'm in the office, the person who's really getting the stuff there is you, right? It's the driver. The driver's the one who's literally he's the end game. He's the one who brings it to the end consumer. And he's not just servicing the one customer. He's servicing that shipper, that receiver, the broker, whoever it may be, and then he's also servicing that end consumer, the person who goes to the grocery store to go buy the stuff. You know, so he misses that one load, and it's a direct domino effect, not just for us, but for the customer. Absolutely. So I would like for anybody who, just like I did, I thought everybody, just getting into the game, right? Just getting into trucking. I thought truckers were just truckers. We're on the road, and, you know, I didn't have the respect for them. When I got in the game and I seen the hours that they put in, the struggles that the dispatchers go through on a daily basis, the customers who also have bosses to talk to answer to, everybody's in it they're in it together, man. They're in it through the same struggle. But it's all connecting parts, and I can tell you that if you guys work together as a team, from drivers to ownership to dispatchers to planners to customers, everybody will be, you know, better off in the end.
Absolutely. So what I heard pretty much is all about a mutual aid cooperation. We just need to understand each other, that we need each other to actually have a smooth, efficient process in transportation. I mean, well said, Greg. I mean, Jeff, my apologies, but I think this is great. You guys, I hope you're really paying attention. Jeff really bringing you guys some interesting information on how to really deal the culture around your driver, on how to deal with the ups and downs. And, you know, hopefully truckers, you guys can also understand the challenges that trucking companies run through on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, too often is that I've realized that myself as a driver, is that there was always that miscommunication. But another part that I want to talk about as well is let's talk about driver attitude, right? Because let's say sometimes, you know, we understand drivers, they have hard days, you know, they have to deal with a lot. We don't know what they have to deal with at home. And sometimes, you know, they come into interaction with a shipper that may be rude, right? Or maybe a customer that may be rude while they're doing the delivery. What is the best message that you could give to that driver on handling that message? Because he is the representative of your company. And, you know, you definitely don't want your driver to be arguing with your customer. What is the best way drivers can kind of mitigate those things when they find themselves in a situation where the shipper is being rude or kind of cursing the driver? What is the best advice you would give to these drivers out there?
Well, other than being the safest person on the road, I think the best advice I could give to a driver while wearing a Bettaway uniform or just, you know, being a human, especially in the tri-state area, is to try to just be as respectful as possible, because anything else is not going to get you anywhere, right? And, you know, there's no best drivers that I have. But all the drivers that I remember the most are the ones that are the most respectful, the most productive, and the safest. Everybody's going to deal with a disgruntled warehouse loader or unloader. Yeah. But that's not within your control. What that person is if he's going to unload you or not unload you, you have nothing to do with that. The best thing you can do is go there, check in, whatever information they give you, and walk out. And you know what? You also have a voice. And you also have people that you can report to, right? These things don't go unheard. So if somebody is mistreating you or cursing at you, that shouldn't be allowed. but also responding with that same attitude, that same treatment is also not allowed either, right? And it shouldn't be acceptable from you. So you call your dispatcher, you let them know, listen, you know, this is what happened. I was at this place. I was treated unfairly, you know, and I can't be set here again unless something happens, unless that person apologizes to me, you know, whatever it may be. We're all grown people. We're grown adults. And we deal with this in trucking every single day. The worst thing you could do is respond with that same negativity. The best thing you could do is try to understand that they also might just be having a bad day, and just talk to your people, your boss, your dispatcher. Anything else is just going to make things worse for you and for that person and for that day. And you don't want to be driving angry, right? You don't want to be driving angry. So.
Nah, that's great stuff. Drivers, if you're out here listening, you understand, like, I know sometimes, yes, you know, you can have that that shipper or that unloader, you know, that's probably having a bad day themselves, and they probably talk to you in a rude manner. But I always say to truck drivers, look, man, you're the professional. Always keep your professional hat on. At the end of the day, the shipper's going to talk back with the motor carrier. They're going to find out what happened. So always remain calm. Always remain responsible. Always respectable. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like I said, you are the representative of that company that you're hauling for. Whether it's your own truck or you're hauling for a company, that respect should be there. And you as a truck driver, I'm not saying, hey, look, you should just let anyone, you know, disrespect you. However, you do have a voice, but always, you know, keep calm and always be the professional driver, and always in any situation. Even when you meet somebody on the road that has road rage, you're the professional driver, so you're the one that kind of pretty much, you know, stay professional. So I'm grateful for sharing that, Jeff. Next question I have for you, Jeff, is this. What advice can you give to drivers to advance their career in trucking? What advice would you give them? As far as if, you know, if they want to become an owner-operator, if they want to become a fleet owner themselves, what advice would you give anyone that's, you know, interested in getting into the trucking industry and they want to advance their career in trucking?
Well, nothing great is easy, right? Nothing great is easy. It is a chaotic, intense environment, no matter where you are, whether you're in the truck as an owner-operator or a company guy, or you're in the office running the show. But it is satisfying in the end. The best advice I could give to a driver to advance his driving career, or to keep his driving career, right, is you have a resume, and your resume lists two things that are the most important. A is safety.
Yep.
That is your resume. The next thing on your resume is longevity. So if you're a brand new driver, you have 1 or 2 years experience, but you have had accidents or tickets, you're probably not going to get a great paying job, right? If you are a safe driver with no accidents, no tickets, or something within a long period of time where it's reasonable, you'll be able to get those high paying jobs. As far as to advance, I would say to try to, you know, understand the operation and provide a different value to your company other than just driving a truck, right? So if you have a mechanical breakdown, you know, when you call in to your dispatch, if you know about your truck, you could kind of tell them, this is what happened and this is what I need to get fixed, versus just saying my truck broke down, I have no idea, and they, you know, have a $2,000 bill for something that could have been just easily a $300 bill, right? So, you know, it's things like that. You know, all truck drivers talk to each other, right? So I know that when you're on the road, you guys are all talking to each other. If you see something that doesn't make sense, that could be more efficient for the company, say something in a respectful way, right? Saying, hey, listen, I know this is not my business, this is you guys, but hey, this driver's going here and I'm going here. Can we just switch loads or whatever it may be? I think, you know, he's running out of time. Instead of him working a 14-hour day, I'll only work 12, you know, something like that. As far as getting into owner-operator, I would do your research. Do your research, because it is an expensive operation to run with a small margin.
Yep.
So your margin is very thin. So to be profitable, you have to do things right. You know, tires are very expensive. Brake jobs are very expensive. Oil jobs are very expensive. You know, you break a bumper on a truck, it could cost you $2,000-$3,000 to get it fixed. You know, tires is a $6,000 job. Brakes is a $6,000 job. You know, you got to do that once a year. Fuel is the most expensive thing that you're gonna have. So just do your research. Make sure that you have, you know, 3 to 6 months of expenses. Your Easy Pass. You know, it costs you $190 to go to New York from Jersey. right? So just alone, you do that 3 times a day, times 5 days a week, times a month, and you're in the thousands, just an easy pass. So make sure that you, before you even start, you have a plan and you have enough funds, sufficient funds to hold you over, you know, for 3 to 6 months, to make sure that you don't want to just start off in a month from now, your truck breaks down and then you can't work. And then you can't continue, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what I would say. I would say your resume is your safety and your longevity, right? So your safety is your accidents and your tickets, and your longevity is how long you've been in the game. And then to advance your career is, you know, present value to your company. Safety is a big value. If you're a very safe driver, that's a value to the company. I know a lot of companies offer safety bonuses, right? So there's a lot of different things that you can do, and talk to your company too. You know, yeah, listen, I'm interested in helping doing this or doing that. Sometimes they might have extra work where you're not on the road, right? You might be doing a safety presentation, right? So it's things like that. And you guys, you know how it is. You sit at truck stops for 5 hours. You could read a book. So just, you know.
Absolutely. Nah, definitely.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing this, man. This is some very, very interesting point that you made. You know, if you're listening out there, driver, you have any interest to get into trucking, as Jeff mentioned, safety is number one. You want to make sure you maintain a clean driver record, because with a clean driving license, you can get top bucks for your license. So anyone interested in trucking, please take care of your license. Don't mess it up now. Also, anyone, millennials, teenagers also listening to out there, don't do anything crazy with your license, because you just never know. Trucking might just be an opportunity for you. So just always make sure that you stay responsible. Keep that license clean. Change your attitude. It will change your paycheck. I mean, definitely, Jeff, really appreciate you being here. Is there anything else that you want to share with this community before you log off? I think we really shared some valuable information. Everyone really appreciate it. Is anything else you want to leave us here with?
First, I want everybody to be safe. I hope this is over really soon, so we can go, you know, to the beach and have a brew together, you know.
Absolutely, yes. Can't wait.
But it's be safe. Remember that, you know, trucking, teachers, first responders, doctors, nurses, you know, we're all in this together. We're all really the front lines, and we're all a big part of what runs this country. So just respect one another. Love one another, and we'll be all right.
That's right, man. So thank you, everyone. You heard it here from Jeff, fleet manager at Bettaway Transportation Logistics. Really thank you, Jeff, for spending the time here. Like I said, if anyone, before I let you go, Jeff, let me just ask anyone in the audience, does anyone have a specific question for Jeff before we log out? We got another maybe 2 minutes. So if anyone have any questions, please go ahead and ask this question. You can hear it directly from the horse's mouth right here, man. What questions do you guys have? Let's see. Any questions? I don't see no other questions, Jeff. I mean, I don't see. I think the audience is they're probably thinking themselves like, man, this is a lot of information. So let them digest the information. You know, it's gonna take a while.
If you have any questions, let me know, Pierre.
Yeah, definitely, man. Really appreciate you, Jeff. Everyone, again, this is Jeff. Like I said, this is Pierre Laguerre, founder and CEO of Fleeting. Yours truly with Trucking Weekly. We want to keep continuing bringing more information. Next week, man, we got some more excited guests to come on. We're going to bring on some more executive into the space to really teach you guys exactly what you need to do to run your business. So, Jeff, hold on 1 second. I think everybody's just saying thank you for everything that you've done. We really appreciate it. You know, you shared a lot of messages. And I know, like I said, you got a family yourself to take care. So hopefully you and the family staying well. Hopefully everyone at Bettaway. Send my love to Dan, Igor, pretty much the entire team, the entire driver team at Bettaway. Please send my love and see you guys soon. Thank you.
All right, bro. No problem. Thank you. Stay safe.
Have a good one. You too.
You too, man. Bye.
Peace.